Today we are going to talk about how to find the equation of a line that's perpendicular to another line. This is the last row of your little book. And again, you need to know how to do two things. You need to know how to use one of these formulas, the y minus y coordinate formula, or the y equals x plus b. And the other thing you need to know is that equations of parallel lines or perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals of each other. What that means is an equation of a line y equals 2x has a slope of 2. Its perpendicular line y equals negative 1/2 x has a slope of negative 1/2. These are called negative reciprocals of each other because not only are they flipped upside down, they're different signs. So if you want to find the equation of a line that's perpendicular to another one, you take the slope, you flip it and switch it. You flip the fraction and you switch its sign. Let's go to the next group of examples and let's do some of these. If you get the equation of a line and he has a slope, that is 2/3. If you want the equation of a perpendicular line to it, you're going to flip the fraction, 3/2, and you're going to switch his sign, make him negative. The second one, if you want the equation of a line that's perpendicular to a line that has a slope of negative 5/4, you will flip him over, which is 4/5, and you'll switch his sign, make him positive. For a line that has a slope of 7, as a fraction, it would be 7/1. So if you were going to flip it over, he'll be 1/7, and again, you need to switch his sign and make him negative. For a line that has a slope negative 9, as a fraction, it would be negative 9/1. If you wanted to flip him over, he would be 1/9, and to switch his sign, it would be positive. For undefined, an undefined slope is a line that is vertical. So something horizontal would be a perpendicular line, and horizontal lines have slope of 0. And vice versa. A line that has a slope of 0 is horizontal. Something perpendicular to it would be a vertical line and has a slope that's undefined. So he would have an undefined slope. So let's do some problems. For number 18, example 18, the equation of a line that passes through point 1,3 and is perpendicular to 2x plus 5y equals 4. Remember, the two things that we need, regardless of which formula you use, you need a point and you need a slope. So you need a point and a slope. We have a point. How do we find the slope? Well, here's what we're going to do. To find the slope, we're going to take our equation, solve him for y, and take his slope and flip him and switch it. So we're going to solve 2x plus 5y equals 4. We're going to solve him for y. We start by subtracting 2x from both sides. And that will give us 5y equals negative 2x plus 4. The next step when you solve him for y would be divide everything by 5. And this will give you y equals, now negative 2x divided by 5 is just negative 2/5 x. And the other thing is just going to stay 4/5. What do we know? Well, we have our slope. Our slope for this line is negative 2/5. If we're looking for the slope of something perpendicular, we're going to take our slope of negative 2/5. We're going to flip him over and switch his sign. When we flip him over, we get 5/2. We switch his sign. It'll be positive. So the equation that the slope that we're looking for our equation is positive 5/2. We're going to do the y equals mx plus b method first. So what we know right now, before we do any more math, is that our equation, since he has a slope of 5/2, is going to be y equals 5/2 x. And we don't know what the y-intercept is. We'll solve y equals mx plus b. We'll solve him for b, and we'll put b up in the blank. So let's fill out all the letters except for b. My y coordinate of 3 goes in for y. My slope of 5/2 goes in for m. My x-coordinate of 1 goes in for x, and I don't know what b is. When we're solving, first thing is we're going to multiply 5/2 times 1. That's just 5/2. I'm going to recopy everything else. I'm going to recopy plus b, going to recopy equals, going to recopy 3. For the next step, if I'm solving for b, I'm going to subtract 5/2 from both sides. How do you subtract 3 and minus 5/2? Well, you need to change 3 to halves. How many halves? Well, you're just going to multiply 3 times 2, and that's 6/2. So 3 is 6/2. So it's 6/2 minus 5/2. It's 1/2. And that's what b is equal to. You're going to put b, 1/2 is your intercept. So your final answer, the equation of that line is y is equal to 5/2 x plus 1/2. Let's do the same thing, but this time we're going to use the y minus y coordinate method. It's the same equation, it's the same example. So we're going to do the same thing as far as slope goes. We have our point, we need a slope. So again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take on 2x plus 5y equal 4, and I'm just going to do it all over again. Same thing that we did. I'm going to solve for y, and if you recall, same thing, I'm already subtracting 2x from both sides. That gave me 5y equals negative 2x plus 4, and I divided everything by 5. This way, it's still the same. Remember, you always need a point and a slope. So when I divide everything by 5, I'm going to get, again, negative, or y equals negative 2/5 x plus 4/5. And my slope, just like it was before, my slope, whoops, I got the wrong thing. I need highlighter. My slope is negative 2/5. So I want a perpendicular line. I'm going to take 2/5, flip it over and switch the sign, which gives me positive 5/2. Now this time, I'm going to use the y minus y coordinate method. So his y minus y coordinate is equal to slope, x minus x coordinate. And then we'll just fill the numbers in that way. This is just the same equation, a different method. So y minus y coordinate is y minus 3, because that's the y coordinate of the point that was given to me, is equal to slope, well, that's your 5/2, x minus x coordinate, and 1 is the x coordinate that was given. So you're going to solve this for y. You recopy y minus 3 equals, and I'm going to distribute 5x times, or 5/2 times x, 5/2 x, and 5/2 times minus 1 is minus 5/2. The next step is you're going to add 3 to both sides. But wait, when you add 3 to both sides, he needs to be halves because of that, 5/2. So I'm going to add 3, but I'm going to make 3, again, look like halves. How many halves are in 3? Well, you take 3 and you multiply it by 2. So there's 6 halves. So I'm going to add 6 halves to both sides. And that will give me y equals 5/2 x. And when you add up a negative 5/2 and a positive 6/2, you get 1/2. You will see you get the same exact equation that we did when we did it the green method, or the y equals mx plus b. You will get y equals 5/2 x plus 1/2. Let's try another example. Find the equation of a line that passes through negative 2, 2, and is perpendicular to 3x minus 1, or sorry, 3x minus y equals 1. Remember, we need a point, which is right here, and we need a slope. So we start in the same way. How do I find the slope? Well, I'm going to solve them for y and get the slope from there. So I'm going to recopy my 3x minus y equals 1. If you're going to solve them for y, the first thing you would do is you would subtract 3x from both sides. Be careful, watch your minus sign. That gives you a negative y equals negative by -1 because the coefficient on y is -1. You don't see him, but it's there. When I divide everything by -1, that will give me y equals 3x, because a negative divided by a negative is positive, and then I'm going to have a -1. Again, now we have the slope. That is just a parallel line, or perpendicular line. So what we need to do is take our slope that we just found. Our slope is 3, or 3/1, and we need to flip him over and switch our sign. So when we flip him over and switch the sign, flip and switch him, he should be -1/3. And that's what we're going to use. Oops, I should have used green. Okay, so here's what we know. We know for a fact, without doing any math, the equation of our line is y equals -1/3 x. And then we don't know the y-intercept. We're going to use our y equals mx plus b to figure that out. We're going to take all the letters out except b, and when we find b, we're going to put them in the blank. So y is the y-coordinate of 2, m is the slope of -1/3, x is the x-coordinate of -2, and we don't know what b is, so that's what we're going to solve for. How do you start them? You're going to multiply -1/2 times -2. That's +2/3. Recopy everything else. The next step is you're going to subtract 2/3 from both sides because I'm solving for b. But what is 2 minus 2/3? Well, I need to make 2 into thirds. How many thirds is 2? Well, when you multiply 2 times 3, you get 6. So I'm going to have 6/3 minus 2/3, which is 4/3. And 4/3 is b. So you're going to take the 4/3 and you're going to put them up into the blank. And I'm done. My equation is y equals -1/3 x plus 4/3. Let's try this example. Again, we're going to do the y equals mx, or the slope, or y minus y coordinate way. I'm going to go ahead and recopy what we did here when we solved it for y. So we do our 3x minus y equal 1. When we solved him, we subtracted 3x from both sides. We got a -y equals -3x plus 1. We divided by a -1 all over, and that gave us y equals 3x minus 1. That stuff is the same. And again, I need the slope. I'm going to take my slope of 3. I'm going to take my slope of 3. Oh, I can't get a highlighter. There we go. My slope of 3. And I'm going to flip them over and switch the sign just like we did before. It's still -1/3. Okay, remember, this time, my method is y minus y coordinate. Again, this is a different method for the same type of problem. You can do it however you want. So I'm doing y minus y coordinate is equal to slope x minus x coordinate. So I start with y minus 2, because that's my y coordinate. My slope was -1/3, and x minus, be careful, -2. My x coordinate was a -2, so make sure he's minus -2, because that turns into x plus 2. Then I'm going to recopy my y minus 2 equals. I'm going to distribute my -1/3. I get -1/3 x minus 2/3. And to solve it, I'm going to solve for y, which means I'm going to add 2 to both sides. But remember, I have thirds, so I have to change my 2 into thirds. How many thirds? 6/3, because again, you're going to multiply. I have my 2's gone. He's y equals -1/3 x. And I have 6/3 minus 2/3. And just like before, we got 4/3. So our equation is y equals -1/3 x plus 4/3. Our very last two are very easy. What's the equation of the line that passes through 5, 9 and is perpendicular to y equals -11? If he's perpendicular to him, he's an x equals. And how do I figure out what the number is? Look at your x coordinate. So he's x equals 5. The last one, I want the equation of a line that passes through 7, 3, and it's perpendicular to x equals 6. Well, if he's perpendicular to an x equal, he must be a y equals. And how do I get the number? I look to my y coordinate. He's y equals 3. Remember, horizontal and the vertical lines are